Hello, everyone. I'm a bit under the weather today, but I figured I'd do a little bit of my voice training homework. Um, just felt like it. So, today I talked with my speech pathologist about um, practicing different voices to show like certain traits. So, for example, one of the things he had me do was try like for example, a sexy flirty versus a sweet or hello Noe or hello Nesto. Wow, I almost said what hello Noane and I'm really out of it today. How are you today? I'm doing a little bit of voice exercise today, which is pretty fun. A bit under the weather, but um I wanted to do this because it's my homework ball, so it just seemed like a fun thing to do. I'm working with a speech pathologist right now, and one of the things that we're doing is like you look at a voice, right? And then you come up with some words to describe that voice. So today I practiced, for example, the difference between like a sexy flirty versus a kind of sweet or cute flirty. And then we also tried aggressive versus like confident. Oh, you had such a nice day today. That's great. Congratulations, Nesto. Before 8 a.m., did you even get any sleep? That feels like not enough sleep given how late you stay up. But I'm glad the day was good anyway. Right, so I wanted to do some practice. Don't put that on me, Nesto. That's on you for not silencing your alarms. I don't control your phone alarms. You can't pin me down for this. Oh man, that's rough, man. That's rough. Uh, Monsters are pretty hardcore. You know, I once ordered a smoothie that had lotus in it, and I didn't really know what lotus was, but it tasted like battery acid. It sure fucking did. Well, I don't know if you've done any voice stuff before Nesto, but it is pretty fun. Um I usually do practice while I'm in like well, I used to do it while I was driving, but obviously like I'm not driving much. You wish you had the more feminine voice? Hey, there are actually techniques for that. I'm not gonna go over like masculinization versus feminizing today, but if you look at my older voice training videos, I actually have them. I'm currently practicing to get a more broad range of my voices so I can go like very femme if I want and very mask if I want. Um so actually the sexy versus cute flirty and the aggressive versus confident are good for showcasing masculine versus feminine too. I haven't figured out how to do a sexy masculine voice yet. Um, if you sound like a radio presenter, then you're probably a really good candidate for trying voice because um people saying you have a radio voice is like such a compliment, honestly. It's very good compliment. Um and Yeah, if you wanna try femming it up, um, I'm not gonna go super into that today, but I do have some older videos, and, I do also previously, before I fell off the wagon. I would normally do my voice training in the morning, which means that you would be more likely to be awake. Um, so you might like those. Um, I'll give you honestly, yeah. I think podcasts are more common these days. I wonder if there's podcasts that act more like radio stations. But I imagine the song copyright would be weird with that. That sounds like a lot of funness, though. I actually really enjoy voice work. Um, I really enjoy voice work. I at one point was spending like half of my income for 2 years uh doing like well, I did singing training, but I also did professional voice acting training. Um and it's quite fun. I like it a lot. So I guess I'll jump into it then. And you might be able to pick up a few tips about masculinization and feminization, although I'm not concentrating on that specifically. So I don't know how to do a sexy male voice. I always wanted to because I had this gaming group locally, where I played tabletop role playing games, and we played 1 to 2 times a week for 7 years. And our game sessions were typically 4 to 8 hours. I put a lot of time in. There was this one game we were playing Heavy Gear, and I made this trans man that I wanted to be a sex symbol. He's kind of like an NPC, not my player character. And I drew him and everything. I was very excited about it. But I could not do his voice. I just didn't know how. So I'm hoping that I'll learn that one day. Like I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on how to do a feminine sexy voice, but a masculine sexy voice still eludes me. One day, one day I will probably get there. So when I was speaking with my speech pathologist and he wanted me to try doing sexy flirty versus cute flirty, the first thing that came to my mind was I had this college class that I took that was a theater class. It was a theater and history class combined together. So my college was a little bit off the beaten path. And instead of having individual classes that were one subject, we had this thing called programs. So we would have a professor, we would have like 2 to 3 professors who all had different specialties working together to like teach a combined course. So this class was taught by a theater professor who was, all about theater and acting and shit. And then there was a classical Greek literature professor. And we were split into 2 groups, and I think we each did different plays. So the theater professor was teaching one group, and I was in the group with the classical literature professor. And the play that we did was Lysistrata, which, for those who don't know, it is a classical Greek theater play about um all the women of this nation went on a sex strike in order to force the men to stop the war because they were just done with all of it. So they were like, y'all are going to be cock blocked to infinity unless you stop sending our sons to die. Fuck you. Um, I got to play as one of the background characters who was an old woman, and they gave us these like pendulum boobs that we could strap on, and I've managed to move in such a way that it jiggled in the most hilarious fashion when I was delivering my voice lines. It was a great time. Honestly, that was a lot of fun. I did not socialize very well with the theater kids, so I actually spent most of my time with the techies in the back soldering lights and helping them make props, even though I was one of the actors, but it was a good time. It was a good time. So, um, my classical literature professor did not, um did not quite understand the psychology of many of the theater students. So he also didn't know too much about theater and acting. So he did this thing where um well, and I'm not saying this can't be done well. I'm just saying that the audience in this case was not set up for it. But he had our group, our class group, have one of the people do a line, and then the rest of us would, like, give feedback on what we think could be different or might be interesting or could be improved. So, one of the main characters, was a classmate who was doing this wife, and there's this scene where she's, like, being really seductive towards her husband, but then not actually having sex with him in order to, like, get him excited and then torment him, basically, as a tactical strategy. All the women coordinated this together. So, she has, like, this massage oil or something, and she's got this line where she's just like, "Rub it in," right? And, the actor was kind of more, like, preppy and maybe, like, uh, not I'm not sure how to say it, but just, like, very much falling in line with kind of, somebody who had not, like, very far away from the I just don't know how to describe this. Anyway, so they were, like, very chirpy delivering that line, like, "Rub it in," or something. So, a fun thing about me in college is that I was in my bro era. I was living my best life in my bro era. Oh, heck yeah, I hope you do get involved with the radio stuff. Honestly, it sounds like a lot of fun. So, right. So she was like doing this line and she was like, rub it in, but it was supposed to be a sexy line, right? So I was in my bro stage and I was very popular in college, not in the sense that I had lots of friends, but in the way that like I made people laugh in class and I also had like good points, right? I thrived in college academic in a way that I did not thrive so much in high school and below. Um, I guess I was a little popular in high school, but I was more like popular with the nerds because I started an anime and manga club, and I became the nerd king. But in this college course, there were a lot more students from different social groups. They had a whole recording of what was it, Nesto? I'm guessing it was like a radio program CD, or were you talking about the play? Um, anyway, right. My mind's all over the place today. I will do my best to not ramble off topic too much. Yeah, I get that. My teachers either loved me or hated me mostly. Um, because I could do my work, but I also was like classical autistic. I was not very sensitive to topics teachers maybe wanted to avoid, for example. Um Anyway, so my point is that I was like very broy and it was college, and in my college, which was a little bit non-standard, we actually we addressed our professors by their first name. So it was not very hierarchical. And I just cussed a lot while giving, like, very academic discussions, so I would say the most academic shit, but I would say it in the most broy way possible. Oh, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't think anybody was really recording those things when I was in school, cause like, the internet was still kinda being filtered in to things, honestly, that's okay though. Like my primary school all the way up, that was like the worst time of my life was before I became an adult. So I think even if I had videos of that time, I probably wouldn't torture myself by rewatching them. Um anyway, so I've rambled quite a bit off topic, but I was talking about the sexy voice in Lysistrata. So basically, I had this very masculine, broy thing, which I've since lost and have been trying to get back. So people did not expect me to be able to make a feminine, femme fatale voice. So the line was like, yeah, no, I went to an alternative college. It was actually pretty good in a lot of ways, although there were some pitfalls that were kind of worse than other colleges. It's kind of here or there, but overall, it was a good experience and I enjoyed it a lot. Um, I ended up getting my degree in sociology and computer science. Anyway, right. So my point is that I was very, very broy and very masculine in college. Right, I was in my bro era. So when it was my turn to give feedback on the line that was supposed to be seductive, uh, I was like, "I think you should, like, lower your voice a little bit," because, like, in the study of voices, typically lower voices come off as more authoritative, but they can also come off as kind of, like, sexier, right? So and then they were like, "Well, will you give an example?" And I was like, "Yeah." So instead of going like, "Rub it in," you would go like, "Rub it in," right? That's a way more sexy, feminine type voice. But I was so broy that when I did that voice, I think everyone was shocked, speechless, which was pretty funny. I had so much gender fuck energy at that age. Like, I was always very amused when I did something that broke gender rules and, like, made other people just, like, speechless. I was like, "Yes, I'm winning at gender right now. I have decimated the gender paradigm of this class. They never expected that a bro like me could also do femme fatale." Yeah. I mean, gender expression and sexuality, they're two different things, but there's a lot of overlap between them, right? Like you're discovering who you are in both cases, just like different aspects, right? So, your gender is kind of discovering about your relationship with yourself. Your sexuality is kind of discovering about how you form relationships with others. Um, College is a good time to explore those kinds of things too. I guess depending on where you live, but definitely for me being a small little queer from a tiny little rural town coming out to the city and doing schools. Um no, I mean, I hope it's a positive thing. Um I discovered my sexuality pretty young. I'm asexual. I'm very sex positive though, so maybe sometimes people can't guess that. Um, and I think I came out as asexual when I was like 12. People really thought it was gonna be a phase. Because people really didn't know much about asexuality then, and you know what? I'm 34 and I'm still going strong, so You know, people can stop being so nosy, honestly. Even if something is a phase, let people live their phase and enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with exploring your identity and finding out what you are and then realizing, oh no, that one didn't fit. I'll do something else instead. You know? Um, but people get into this idea that you have to be one thing and just like, I don't know. And they also tend to think that the default is gonna be like being cis and heterosexual, um, and that people are being dramatic if they're trying to be anything else. And it's like, bro, people are just different. You know, sometimes people are just different. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, the place I grew up was like an interesting mix because there were very conservative and very liberal people um living in one place, so it's kind of volatile politically. Yeah. You know, I didn't know about non-binary until I got into college. And I didn't even know that people who were assigned female at birth could be trans. I just thought trans women was the only thing. Mostly just cuz that's all I ever saw. Um Anime and manga has examples of trans women, but usually when there's a masculine AFAB person, they're not actually identifying as a man or anything. They're just doing it for plot reasons. And honestly, so the TV tropes name for this is Sweet Polly Oliver. Um, but honestly, those are a lot more. They seem like they'd be more relatable to trans women because it's about being a woman but having to hide and pretend to be a man. Um, so the representation in media is definitely, you know, not evenly spread for sure. Yeah, when I was in second grade, I was very excited to be a son. My dad was like, I got three girls, I'm upset with it. And I was like, okay. Well, what if I'm your son though? And then he's like, I cut my hair off and I was like, awesome, I'm a son now. Because in the anime, they just would raise people as a different gender and it didn't really, matter. Um, and he just got really mad. And I remember being so confused. I was like, why is this not working like it did in the books I read? Oh, so where you live, trans men have more coverage? Interesting. Yeah, no, different places can be different. I've definitely experienced a lot of different things I haven't lived too many places. I hate moving, so I usually would get someplace and hanker down until I absolutely have to move, but I have lived a few different places and visited a few others. And gender perception can be quite different. Anyway, I keep getting distracted, but I was gonna do the voice stuff. So we talked about so you pick two types of aspects, right? So for example, you can pick two that are similar to each other, right? So sexy flirty versus cute flirty. They're both flirty, but so like they're sort of similar, but they can also just be a bit different as well, right? So because of my personal history, the first line that came to my head was that line from like Lysistrata, right? And so I would imagine sort of like oh no, you're fine. I'm also just chatty, and I do have inattentive type ADD, so I can get a little bit spacey, you know. And I'm also just not in the best condition this week. But I like to talk, so nothing to apologize for. I'm just also trying to keep myself I'm trying to keep myself from drifting off too much because I will take a topic and then I'll sail away and I'll go through like 10 different topics before I even remember what the fuck I was actually trying to say at first. I used to be able to always remember it no matter how many weird tangents I went on. I always remembered where I was trying to get to, but now that my brain doesn't work like it used to, I don't and I just fucking forget. So I try to keep myself a little bit more on reminding myself to go back so that I don't float off into space. Uh Brains are so fun. All right. So, yes, so if you try to make a voice, so let's say I'm going to do the sexy flirty and then I'll do something that's a little bit more cute flirty, right? So, um rub it in or like rub it in. You know, those kinds of things. So, in my body, what I feel, when I do those is kind of like almost like a very it's not totally smooth like silk. It's not slippery. It's soft, but it's more like velvet, right? Um, it's a little bit grippy. Oh, midnight where you're at? Yeah, that's late, especially getting up early as you did. Um, So that's how I feel it, and I also feel it kind of like rub it in. Kind of like it is going down the back of my throat. I feel kind of this feeling of on the back of my tongue and then gliding and then on in the throat I feel it kind of sliding down and back towards my spine, not towards the front, right? Um so if I'm going to change that to something more cute, maybe I'd be like, "Aren't you going to rub it in?" Right? So for me, like a cute flirty usually includes kind of plausible deniability. Oh no. Good luck with that, Nesto. I hope it's not too rough for you. So cute flirty, right? I think that a cute flirty, I'm thinking somebody who's a bit more immature, maybe younger and naive, or even if they're not young and naive, they want to give the impression of that naivete, right? So if you want to be cute and flirty, it's kind of got this thing where you pretend like you don't know what sex is, right? Like you have to come off as if you're not intending to be flirty, right? So that's how I see it. Um, Whereas like the kind of femme fatale flirty is more very in control, very knowledgeable and kind of like telling kind of little hooks, right? Hooking somebody in, tempting people. Whereas cute flirty is more like, a teenager who's being flirty but is not really going to commit to it. They're kind of like they could deny it at any point. They have that extra added of protection. Um and like mm, it's not as solid, I guess. It's more of a gas as instead of flowy. Like if a femme fatale voice is like something viscous that's moving, maybe like mercury, right? It flows like mercury. It's solid. It's very controlled. It drips, but it drips not not like water drips, but more like honey drips, or I think the mercury is just a better visual of that. And then like cute flirty is more airy, you know? It's more like poppy. It's a little bit more bouncy. Um and I think the flirtiness comes more from the context, right? Like lots of extra physical contact or things like that. So one of my so this is why it's kind of like the homework, right? You want to do two different things and then kind of feel how they're different. So um rub it in. Kind of got a little bit of hooks in there, and like I said, I feel it more down and back. And then, for the cute flirty, maybe that goes more into the, like, "Aren't you gonna rub it in?" Or, "Aren't you gonna rub it in?" Or like, I don't know, kinda like that, right? Like, the voice itself is not necessarily as flirty, and so for me, what I feel with that one is, like, the back of my throat is kind of pinching a bit to give me a smaller, more closed resonance, and I feel like the sound is sitting, "Aren't you gonna rub it in? Aren't you gonna rub it in? Aren't you gonna rub it in?" I feel it more kind of towards the top and front, maybe a little bit into my nasal cavity, and it comes down like in the top of my mouth behind my teeth, and then kind of like slides down the teeth and out, right? That's where I'm feeling it. I do have a bit of synesthesia, so this might not be helpful to other people, but that's just you can also do it your own way and then think about what feels different for you, right? Um, so the point of this is basically to be able to, you want to be able to listen to a voice and identify what traits they are. And then you also want to be able to replicate those and then feel the difference between two things, and it doesn't matter if that difference is different than what I feel. What matters is that you can have your own frame of reference within your own body. So, my instructor also told me that he's like, I think you've got a bit of synesthesia there. So, it's not like I can tell what muscles you're moving based on your descriptions of how you feel. But as long as you can feel the difference between A and B, and you can use the difference you feel to reach those two different markers on your own, then I think it's going to be good, right? So it doesn't matter if what you feel is different than what I feel. Um, but it does, as long as you have your own internal way of measuring, right? Your own internal sense of what's different between these two things. So, next, the example that we practiced was aggressive versus confident. So, the line that he gave me is like, I'm your boss, so you need to do what I tell you, right? So if I'm gonna do that, and I'll do more masculine voices for these. So if I want to go into the more aggressive one, I'm your boss and you have to do what I tell you, right? So that's a very aggressive kind of thing. And if I wanted to change it instead to something that's a bit more confident rather than outright, frictive or like abrasive. That's the word I was looking for. So for this one, you'd be like, I'm your boss and you need to do what I tell you, right? That one is kind of like they're talking down. It's a bit patronizing, but it's more confident, right? Rather than outright aggressive. Like the aggressive is kind of more like bullying. Yeah, I'm glad that you liked it, Nesto. All the voice acting training paying off. I do my best. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Uh, so I wanted to use these two examples to kind of, give you guys an idea of the type of thing we're working with here. Um, And you can also try these yourself if you'd like. It's just kind of a fun little exercise that will also develop not only your sense of being able to read other people's voices, but also your sense of control over your own voice. So a good thing to do is like say it in different ways, but record it on like your phone or something and then play it back and do that until you get what you want. And then remember how that feels. Oh, you want to do a ee? Let's see. Let me see what's a good venti line? That one's a little, I don't know about that one. Like making it really girly is easy. Um, all right, I could try Ascara. I was gonna do this anyway, so I'll go ahead and hide this background because the next thing I was going to do was going to be this. But if we want, we could also analyze a few characters. I actually use Genshin Impact characters quite a lot when I'm testing out voices because they have so many voice lines that it's really good for doing a voice analysis. So let's pull out Venti voice lines and, um, gosh, maybe I'll do that. Oh, I didn't mean to click that, actually. Maybe I'll do that cursed one.
Oh, that was a refreshing
What is a
sleep.
good ehe?
Allow me to join you on your quest once again.
No, what I
Well,
want is
let's go.
wouldn't
It's
gliding be faster? Let's see.
yeah.
Is there actually a good one that has
I'm
the
still
eh?
odd. There's no need. I already know every song in Tibet. It'll cost you an apple.
Oh, okay. So let's try that.
That the bards of the world tell the traveler's tales.
Playing the lyre, maybe?
Sure, I'll play you another tune, but it'll cost you an apple.
Okay. So for me, when I hear somebody's voice and I'm trying to imitate it, I almost feel like this kind of tactile echo in my throat that kind of suggests what shape my throat needs to be in to make that sound. Um, so listening to Venti's voice,
Sure, I'll play you another tune, but it'll cost you an apple.
I feel the same kind of closed back of my throat that I felt when I was doing kind of the cute flirtiness. And it also feels like it's kind of, in terms of my mouth, it's kind of going up towards the roof of my mouth and a little nasally. So let me listen to it a few times.
Sure, I'll play you another tune, but it'll cost you an apple.
Sure, I'll play you another tune, but it'll cost you an apple. I might have leaned too mask with that one. Sure, I'll play you another tune, but it'll cost you an apple. Sure, I'll play you another tune, but it'll cost you an apple. Something like that. And then let's do Scaramouche or Wanderer voice lines. Doing edgelordy characters is so much fun,
You want me
honestly.
to introduce myself?
No, this one's too long. I need
Free
you to
and
say
happy to
something
just toss an
shorter.
umbrella. You're so happy just to see the sun again. How childish.
You are so happy just to see the sun again. How childish. Mm, I feel like I'm maybe not getting it quite as sharp as it needs to be. Let's try.
You're
Oh,
so happy just to see the sun again. How childish.
yeah, I think he has a little bit of tiredness in there, right? So, like, he's sarcastic, but he does have tsundere aspects to him, but he's not the very energetic, always exploding type. He's more of like a calm, quieter one. Like, he's just tired and everything makes him sick, right? Your face makes him sick, the sun makes him sick. Like that's kind of the feel you that I get from his voice. So, you're so happy just to see the sun again. How childish. You're so happy. No. You're so happy just to see the sun again. How childish. Listen to it off stream or something. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can send it to me on Discord. That's totally fine. Um, anyway, so those are quite fun. And one thing that I was going to branch off of that, oh, and before I move on, I was using the sexy versus confident aggressive voices, and there are some differences there between the femme and the mask, and in my opinion, so pitch is usually the first thing that people think of when they're talking about feminine versus masculine voices, but there's also feminine voices that are very feminine and very low, and then there's masculine voices that are very high pitched, but you wouldn't ever think a woman had said it, right? So some examples are the femme fatale voice is pretty low pitched, right? Rub it in, right? And then rub it in, right? Uh the difference between that is more the first one was the best. Yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes I have to like try a few different things and analyze what I like the best about them. I often also need to listen to myself on recording because the way I sound in my head is actually very different from how I sound on recording. So sometimes I do something that in my head I'm like, this seems about right. But then I listen to it, I'm like, oh, I thought I was doing something really extreme, but actually it's not big enough. I need to go bigger. Um, it can be hard if you feel like voice dysphoria, if you have struggle with listening to your own voice. But it does genuinely help a lot. And for me, listening to my voice for homework and clinical stuff, like it feels more clinical. And so I find that I'm not as bothered by listening to my voice as if I had just listened to a random recording of something I said. So, yeah, resonance is, in my opinion, the biggest difference because kind of a campy gay voice can be very high pitched, but it wouldn't get mistaken for a woman's voice typically because it has a more open resonance even though the pitch is high. Um, so, like rub it in, rub it in. Those are kind of interesting, kind of. Hmm. Anyway, I'm definitely still learning, so I'm not the best at this. So, one of my homework assignment was basically to take two kind of things that are on here on this wheel, right? So we have the base emotions here, as you might see in like Inside Out, but then they kind of go off into more specific emotions, and then those can also go even more specific. So, for example, happy, and then maybe you want to go into like, um, let's see, happy goes to optimistic, and you could have hopeful or you could have inspired, right? Hopeful and inspired are very similar, and so if you have to really turn up, you have to really understand the two of them in order to like display the difference, right? Um and I think it challenges you more on a artistic and kind of like psychanalysis level, I guess. Um, so we could probably take oh, I guess I actually closed the tab. Um, so let's say that line from Scaramouche, right? You're so happy just to see the sun again. How childish, right? So that's kind of judgmental, I would say, perhaps. Um, I think that would fit that one the best. And let's see. Definitely dismissive also. But I do feel like Scaramouche definitely leans more towards disgusted than angry. Um, most of the time, I think. So let's see. Let's say if I want to read that line, but I want to do it in several different ways. So let's try making that line annoyed versus infuriated, right? So you're so happy just to see the sun again. How childish. That one, a little bit more annoyed, whereas infuriated might be more like, you're so happy just to see the sun again. How childish. Right? So I definitely feel like annoyed is a less angry than infuriated. Infuriated definitely has more energy behind it. Um, One of the differences between these two, I think vocal weight is really important when expressing feelings of anger. So vocal weight is, let me see. I know that I have, where did I save those images that I made? Let me find those really quick. I'll see if I can put them up. Where is it? Singing assets, maybe. And do I want this one? Oh, here it is. Okay. Yeah. So I actually drew these. I'll go ahead and share these images. So this is some art I did after examining some stroboscopies. I looked at the cameras going down people's throats. So this is the vocal folds as seen from above, I guess. So like if you decapitated a person while staring down at the top of their head, this is what the vocal folds would look like. Um so these come together when you're breathing, right? They're more relaxed and they're not close together. And when you're speaking, they come together like this, and you can see they're stretched. I believe this is towards the spine, or no, this is towards your front, I think, and this is towards the back. Yeah, because they go down the front, and that's what I was watching when I was doing it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so the point is that they're like, um, so like I drew these to illustrate pitch, right? So this is high pitch versus low pitch. So you can see that this one, they're stretched front to back, very thin, whereas this, it's compressed front to back, and it's a little bit fatter. And when you speak, these kind of vibrate, and vocal weight is controlled by how tightly these are pressed together. So if you wanted a more airy kind of sound, right? So let's see. You're so excited to see the sun again. How childish. That's kind of more airy, whereas, like, if I wanted to give it a bit more vocal weight, well, yeah, I mean, it is the inside of the human body, so understandable that's a bit disgusting to a lot of people. It's your guts. I mean, it's not dead people's guts, it's living people's guts, but guts are guts, right? Um, anyway, so you're so happy to see the sun again. How childish. So between those two, it's kind of hard to like describe, but like things are a lot more tense when you have a heavier vocal weight. Um, and when you are speaking, the folds are coming together and they're letting a lot less air through, and the air is coming out in like bursts, like kind of jerky. Whereas with airy, it's more like, I'm so happy to see the sun again. How childish, right? So you feel there's a lot more air coming together. And even while I'm speaking and in between words, the air is still kind of leaking. Whereas if I'm doing a heavier vocal way, I'm like, you're so happy to see the no, I started combining the two. That was weird. All right. You're so happy to see the sun again. How childish. Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna try to get myself back into doing some more vocal streams. It'll probably just be on a day-to-day basis, honestly, with how I feel. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, Nesto, and I hope you sleep well. I'm gonna do a few more of these and then rest myself, honestly. So, yeah. So let's see. What others could we do? So like hopeful versus inspired, right? So what's a good hopeful line? I think a different character would be good for that one. Let's try. What's a good hopeful character? Maybe Shinyan. Voice lines. I feel like Shinyan has a higher vocal weight. I didn't think this isn't the one I was thinking of. Um, Maybe it was Xian Ling? Yeah, this one. Okay. Let's take a look at Ling, and we'll see what we can get here.
Hello, nice to meet you. So, what limes taste better with lime? I can't decide whether
Alright, so let's go with the,
I'll whip loaf. Is there time for a quick snack?
okay. So I can go with, is there time for a quick snack? And let's do hopeful versus eager, maybe. Those have a lot in common. Let's see. Is there time for a quick snack? I feel like it's pretty easy to get these two. They're quite close. So hopeful, I think, is more passive, while eager is more active. Um, is there time for a quick snack? That one seems more like trying to please someone, I think. Um, is there time for a quick snack? That one maybe sounded a little bit more hopeful. So in my body, how's that sounding? Or how's that feeling? Is there time for a quick snack? So I definitely feel as if things in my throat and towards the back of the throat are like rising up. It's not as pinched as, say, the cute, flirty voice. Um, it's elevated, and I definitely think, is there time for a quick snack? It's almost like starting in the back of my throat and just throwing it towards the front of my mouth without a whole lot of contact. It's not like sliding along the roof or sliding on my tongue. It's more of just going straight out that way, right? So an elevated back of my throat and then it's just going straight out. So, is there time for a quick snack? Not quite. Is there time for a quick snack? Is there time for a quick snack? Yeah. And then eager is going to be a bit more transparent, maybe. So more like, is there time for a quick snack? Is there time for a quick snack? Yeah, so I'd say the difference between those two, in my opinion, the biggest difference is actually the vocal weight. So in hopeful, it's a lot more relaxed, whereas in eager, there's a lot more tension. Um, I think that covers it pretty well. So let's try maybe isolated versus abandoned. I think Wanderer would be a good choice for this. So let's go back to Wanderer voice lines. And I'll find one that could be isolated or abandoned, depending on how it's read. Okay.
Fundamentally speaking, there's little breeze like this. Even you can. The sun's already in your eyes. Self, and that small thing floating next to you is drawing to a close. Finally, another boring day is with me around. Ashes. As for what will obsessing over certain things, you're still stewing over do about news after what you've done for me. But what if one of your friends mistakes you? Shouldn't you come up with some excuse for our? You're on your own. Makes me a little ill. Meaning, when I ask me anything if you want. If a question is interesting enough, I may give you an answer. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled.
Let's see here. I wonder if I could use that line. Truly, simple animals don't need anything to be fulfilled. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. I feel like he's a little high-pitched than me.
Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled.
Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. It's less judgmental than I expected this line to go.
Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled.
Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Another fun thing to try when you're trying to do a voice in several different ways is to play around with the stacks. And that has more to do with, like, the voice. What is it called? Let's see. The contour. That's what we're looking at here. It has more to do with the contour, which includes like cadence. Contour actually is the most complex of the 5 traits, in my opinion, because it includes so much. It includes a lot of social aspect of voices, whereas some of the others are more like physical. So it's basically like reading the same line, but giving emphasis to different words. So, like, truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled, right? So I put the emphasis on simple and complicated. So that gives a different feel than if I said, for example, truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled, right? So then I emphasize animals. Or I could go like, truly simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. So I start strong and then I loosen as I go on. Or I could go like, truly simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Right? So I go anything and fulfilled. So if I was going to go isolated versus, let's see, isolated versus abandoned. Okay, so truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. So that one has more of a sad, abandoned feel for me, right? And so for me, that includes putting less energy into it. So I guess maybe a lower vocal weight. It's not as tense. I also feel it's kind of a feeling of it like settling down, right? So like imagine a river where like maybe the flow is going and then it picks up a rock and then the rock lands somewhere else and then it just sort of settles into a little divot in the rest of the rocks on the bottom. So it kind of just like settles in. Or if you've ever seen those spiders that dig burrows and you see them at the very end where they just like shake and then hide themselves under the sand, I think that that is kind of more of a settling. You are the rock. All right. Good for you. Rock's a good place to be. To it is a good it's a good rocks are good. Anyway, brains. So, right. So isolated is kind of, in my opinion, it's very neutral on how you got that way, but it could also be read as you putting distance between yourself and others, right? So, like, truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled, right? So that doesn't sound like somebody who is longing for attention. That sounds like a lot more looking down and maybe like judgy. Um, and it could be isolated in the sense of just like putting distance between yourself and these simple animals, whichever he's talking about, right? So if I wanted to make it sound, and that one I feel hits the back up upper part of my throat, and then it's just kind of like definitely it lives kind of there for me. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. So, if I wanted to add a feeling of abandoned to it, right? Um, truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled, right? It sounds a little bit more wistful, a little bit more longing, right? Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Yeah, it's just kind of mm, lower energy, maybe less ups and downs, kind of droopy, maybe. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Truly, simple animals don't need anything complicated to be fulfilled. Like it just sounds like you're not fulfilled there, right? Whereas isolated, you got more of your guard up, I guess. Um, let's try another one. Let's see. What's a good one? We could do judgmental or embarrassed. I think Zhao would be a good character for this. Let's try that. Zhao.
If you awake to a knife at your throat, if monsters dig their claws into you,
Okay,
if death comes
judgmental or
knocking at your door,
embarrassed.
when you call,
That's
the
not where we're
damned will
going.
sooner die. Winds do not stop for the weather. Oof. The rain stopped.
Embarrassed
I don't
versus
concern myself with the
judgmental.
weather. Many mortals fear lightning. Incomprehensible. We're wasting time. Night. When the darkness comes, I'll be here. Liyue is changing. Comes where even you are taken by the darkness. Have no mercy. Who's there? Oh. You think I sleep? You have no respect for the ways of the adept.
Let's see. I think this could be judgmental or embarrassed. Let's see. I'll do it just how he does it first.
Oh. You think I sleep? You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti.
You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. I feel like he's another one that speaks more in the back of my throat towards the spine.
Think I sleep? You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti.
You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. All right. I'll try. So judgmental versus embarrassed. So judgmental, the other person did something embarrassing versus you did something embarrassing. So you have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. I think weight is also going to be important between these two. So judgmental is more of kind of like a social attack, and embarrassed is more like a social retreat, right? You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. Versus like embarrassed, let's say he got caught doing something dumb and is trying to cover it up, right? You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. I don't know. I'm not sure this line is the best for embarrassment. Oh, you think I sleep? You think I sleep? You think I sleep? You think I sleep? You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. I feel like embarrassed is kind of dropping down lower as you go on. Like, you start with like the burning feel of shame, but it kind of lessens as you get through the sentence and you go lower, almost kind of like, let's just forget this ever happened, right? You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. So that one's kind of more of like, I'm going to say something quick and distract you from this embarrassing mistake that I just made. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. That one's definitely more of the social attack, judgmental. You have no respect. It's your problem. You're at fault. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. You have no respect for the ways of the Adepti. I think stuttering adds something. It's a little bit uncertain. When somebody's embarrassed, they've kind of been knocked off kilter. So, like, if you're imagining their body posture, right? Like, horse stance, feet wide, your body weight, center of weight is lower, you feel more stable. Whereas embarrassed, I think, feels a bit more like you're stumbling, right? Like you're caught off guard with some feelings that you weren't ready to confront. I definitely could improve on this, but I think that that's not terrible. Uh, Analysis, let's see. Oh, ashamed or remorseful, but that's too similar. Let's see. It's too similar to what we just did. So maybe nervous versus exposed would be good. What character would be good for that? Maybe, man, what is her name? Sucrose. We can try a Sucrose line. Sucrose is a very nervous person.
I'm Sucrose, so I'm meeting
So let's
Darren.
find
Can I
something
go take a
that's...
look? Faster than usual today. Running. Yes, I know. I should wear more layers.
That one's kind of cute. It's just like, yes, I know. I should wear more layers. Yes, I know. I should wear more layers. It's kind of like she's used to being criticized, and so she jumps to criticizing herself before others could do it. There's a little bit of a sheepish feeling there. Yes, I know. I should wear more layers. So if I was gonna do that in terms of nervous versus exposed, right? So nervous, maybe. "Y- Yes, I know I should wear more layers, right? So it's kind of like more of a passive feeling, kind of feeling unsafe, but like um in a off kilter kind of way, kind of like yeah. So what was the words again? Curse you working men. Nervous versus exposed. Okay. So nervous, maybe feeling anxious over being judged. So like, "Y- yes, I know. I should wear more layers. I should wear more layers. I should wear more layers." So for me, I feel like the middle back of my tongue, and then it feels like all of my anatomy is kind of pinched towards that spot. Um, so we definitely have a more closed resonance there. And I do think the vocal weight, it's not super brusque, but it's definitely not airy. I feel like it's definitely in the more pinched kind of range. Yes, I know. I should wear more layers. That one's more like embarrassed, kind of. Uh, I know. I should wear more layers. So instead, if we wanted to do exposed, maybe, let's see. If they're feeling exposed, I think they'd feel a little bit more defensive. So, yes, I know I should wear more layers. I should wear more layers. I should layer more layer. I should layer. I should wear more layers. I should wear more layers. Feels kind of more active, more, I think nervous automatically comes with like a certain type of restless energy. But exposed is kind of more like nervous, you're worried about something that hasn't happened yet, and exposed is more like something has already happened that maybe you didn't expect, and you're thrown off a bit. So, like, let's see. Let's see. If I miss it, I'll have to wait until next year to run my experiments. So maybe I could use that line more for exposed. Like maybe somebody called you out. Nah, stick to the shorter line. I know I should wear more layers. I know I should wear more layers. Yes, I know I should wear more layers. I know I should wear more layers. I don't know. I feel like exposed is kind of hard. But it's also hard to come up with words in a vacuum when you're doing this kind of thing. Um, I should wear more layers. I think that one gives off more of a feeling of exposed, right? Because it's kind of more feeling despair over the exposure that's happened. I should wear more layers. Yes, I know I should wear more layers. I know I should wear more layers. Whereas nervous is more like, Yes, I know I should wear more layers. I know I should wear more layers." I don't know. Anyway, um, maybe I'll do one more. Hmm. Withdrawn versus dismissive. That one's not bad. Let's try Al Haytham for this one. Al Haytham. What is a good one? All right, so we're going to do withdrawn versus dismissive. I feel like he's very dismissive and very
I'm Al Haytham,
withdrawn.
application outside the temple, which is exactly why I took the position. Book learning alone is not enough to cultivate intelligence. All those scholars in the academia are prime examples.
Hmm.
There have been many poorly written applications lately. I guess I'll just have to reject them all.
Alright, so Alhaitham has some aspects of a more twinkish voice, but it's definitely on the a little bit more on the masculine end, like not a twink, but maybe more twunk, I guess. Um, so let's listen to his voice line. I'll try to do it as is first.
Poorly written There have been many poorly written applications lately.
There have been many poorly written applications lately. I think that too close resonance for him. Let's listen again.
There have been many poorly written applications lately.
Okay. So, what I'm feeling from him is like, so for myself, when I'm trying to do a more twinkish or like youthful, small bodied male versus like a more deep, older, masculine, broader guy, because some aspects of voice are kind of like imply different physical aspects of a person, right? Um, like an open resonance kind of implies that you have a larger body. Um, and closed resonance can imply a smaller body. So, in terms of how I do it, right? So, let me try giving an example. Um, I'll do singing because I've just been practicing that more, honestly. Um, it's less weird to sing to yourself than say random lines. So I was doing this song before, um, and I did it in a feminine voice, and then I did it in a twinkish voice. So it was kind of like, "Welcome to my world. Renew your definitions." All right, so then if I twinkify it, "Welcome to my world. Renew your definitions." And I wonder if I can do this in a more like Barry voice. I'm not confident in it. "Welcome to my world. Renew your definitions one more time." Usually my go-to to describe a more like more open resonance voice is more like "Brothers of the keep my throat wet. "Brothers of the mind, rejoice, swing, swing, swing with me. Raise your picks or raise your voice, sing, sing, sing with me. Welcome to my world. Renew your definitions." All right, and then twinkify. "Welcome to my world. Renew your definitions." And then let's go for some more feminine ones. "Welcome to my world." I don't know. Femme fatale doesn't really fit that. I think I'd need to get better at that to do it, but "Welcome to my world. Renew your definitions. Welcome to my world. Renew your definitions." So I feel like Alhaitham is not quite as twinky as the twink voice, but he's also not as Barry as the bear voice. Let me listen to it again.
There have been many poorly written applications lately.
Let's see. So, for me personally, when I'm doing a Twinkie voice, it's towards the front of my throat. But it also is like a long column up and down, right? And then the bear voice is more like a triangle where it's narrower at the top and wider at the bottom. But like the top of the triangle is like halfway down the twink voice, right? So it's a lot more narrower at the top than it is at the bottom. But it also doesn't have the same up and down range as the twink voice. So I guess with him, it almost feels more like a diamond shape. Where you have this column at the top and it gets a little bit deeper and then it gets wider, but then it comes back together. So it's not going full baritone. And that's just how it feels physically to me. So let's try and I'll take a drink and see if I can see what I can get out of it.
There have been many poorly written applications lately. I guess I'll just have to reject them all.
There have been many poorly written applications lately. I guess I'll just have to reject them all. No, that one's not good. There have been many poorly written applications lately. I guess I'll just have to reject them all. There have been many poorly written applications lately. I definitely feel he's more towards the front than the back. I get... There have been many poorly written applications lately. I feel like he's a little bit more nasally than that, actually. There have been many poorly written applications lately. Maybe not quite that nasally. Let's listen to it again.
Poorly written application. There have been many poorly written applications lately. I guess I'll just have to reject them all.
There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. I guess I'll just have to reject them all. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. Honestly, Alhatham's voice is kind of a perfect storm of the things I struggle with the most. But that's also why it's a good one to practice. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. Yeah, I almost feel like it's more towards the front near the top, but then it goes further back the lower I get, like a diagonal line from like the inside of my mouth below the nose towards the back of my throat. Welcome home, Korichi. Poorly, but yeah, that's what the practice is for. Poorly. Oh, I hope you feel better, Korichi. Yeah, I'm just gonna finish this up pretty soon here. I'm honestly not at the top of my game today either. I might see if I can read. Let's see.
Poorly written application.
Hmm. 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 There have been many poorly... There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. I guess I'll just have to reject them all.
There have been many poorly written applications lately.
There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many. There have been many poorly. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. I guess I'll just have to reject them all. I guess I'll just have to reject them all. All right, now getting away from Alhaitham. Let's see. We were gonna do Withdrawn versus dismissive. Let's see. So, there have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. Dismissive, dismissive. There have been many poorly written applications lately. 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 So kind of dismissive in the sense of like, your poorly written application isn't special. I've had a lot of those. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. And then withdrawn is more like, There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. There have been many poorly written applications lately. Maybe a little bit withdrawn. I think the difference for me between dismissive and withdrawn. So dismissive is kind of like not taking it too seriously and being like, whatever, throw that thing in the trash, I don't care. And withdrawn is just more of like disinterested in the world around you. So it's like, yeah, there have been poorly written applications, but it's just a neutral thing that I don't care about or have any investment in. And like dismissive is a little bit like disdain, right? It's a little bit judgmental. So, there have been many poorly written applications lately. 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 That one sounded more dismissive, I think. Withdrawn, more like, there have been many poorly written applications lately. 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 All right, well, at that, I think I might end it there, but it was fun. It was fun. Obviously, still more practice to be done. But yeah, practice is done one day at a time.